Hi, everybody. I'm Emily.
And my name is Nana, and we are from Miracle Properties.
And hey everyone, my name's Imran from Modus Academy. And in this week, we're going to talk about the great thing of stamp duty and, stamp duty and the holidays around stamp duty. And does it apply to me? Do I have to pay it? When do I pay? Would that be a fair question that's come up quite a lot recently?
Yeah,
Yes,
it has.
So
this is
tell me, why is it coming up? Tell me more about it.
it's coming up in our Facebook group that we use, or it's the group, and it's a lot of questions. People don't understand it really, so we thought this video will make it much clearer.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we've been asked this question a lot about the holiday. People seem to think that we don't need to pay any holiday stamp duty at all during this period. So we wanted to just make it clear what's the fact is.
Yeah, it's gone a bit crazy. I think the market, the stamp duty holiday, as we've said recently in the last video, it's really stimulated the market. People are buying, selling. It's actually really buoyant right now, which is just insane and just unheard of with the time we're going through. But yeah, I think the missed sort of information is that I think investors in particular think, oh, great, I'm paying no stamp duty, I'm saving loads of money on my purchase. But we have to remember that investors will always pay a surcharge, okay? And the surcharge was not included in the stamp duty holiday until March next year. So I think it's important we let everyone know that. So what that means is that I think so for example, in England, they basically said, so anything up to £500,000, £500,000, you pay no stamp duty on. But if you're a homeowner, that's great, right? Because as a homeowner, you can move house. It's your main residence. So when you move home, you'll pay no stamp duty on that purchase. And actually, you guys invest in Wales as well. We'll come on to that as well in a minute. But if you're buying an investment property, that's where the difference is. So if you have a second home, you pay a surcharge. It's almost like an extra bit of tax that the government take from you. And in England, you pay, if you're buying something up to say 125,000, you pay an additional 3%. And that 3% isn't discounted in this process. So we still have to pay that. And in Wales, you have to pay something, don't you, as well?
Yeah, they have the threshold for the stamp duty holiday is up to 250,000. So it's a bit less than in England. But then you have the surcharge, as you talked about it. That's 3% up to 180.
Yeah. So 3% up to 180, whereas ours is 3% up to 125, and then that sort of 5% jump up from there above that price. So we pay a little bit more overall here in England than you do in Wales. Damn you, Wales, with your investments. So, but it's right. And I think the thing is, I think the problem is I've seen lots of posts like you probably have where people are getting so excited that they're saving money. But I think when they're running your numbers, especially with properties, you must include that surcharge because that's not going away during this time. It still is, I suppose it still is cheaper for someone to buy because they are making a saving, but they're not getting 100% off. They will still pay that surcharge. So I think it's important to cover that off.
Yeah, I think it's good that we
cover that.
We cover that because people take stamp duty out of their spreadsheets when they do due diligence. Because it's a stamp duty holiday, and we can't do that.
No, exactly. Yeah, and I remember when stamp duty, when this talk about this surcharge first came into play, the government announced it, there were all these conversations about, okay, what does it mean? If you're an international investor, do you have to pay the surcharge because you don't own a property in the UK? So everyone was looking for ways around how that would work. And all the government, I think they did from memory, when I was looking through the legislation, I think they basically said, if you own a property like anywhere in the world, you will have to pay the surcharge basically. So that's how I understood it back in the time when they first started doing their consultation
I even looked through it a couple of weeks ago. And it actually said buy to let property in the legislation.
So they've done it specific.
So that like if you are buying it to rent it out, and it's a surcharge on it.
There's a surcharge, yeah. So they make it very clear. So no matter if you're a UK person or an international person, that surcharge is there in place, and it's something that we have to be aware of. So you said to me before, I think when we were talking about this, doing this video, one of the questions that came up was about, well, when do you pay the stamp duty? Because historically you could delay payment and pay it later down the line. So that's also something that changed, where now, and you have to pay the stamp duty within 14 days of the purchase going through. So I think people, you know, so rather than using that money for your refurb, you need to keep that in your account and pay your stamp duty. Otherwise, there could be penalties coming through. You know, and I think that people forget that it is something you've got to pay. You know, factor it into your purchase process. You've got to pay it, and I guess you would use solicitors like you would do to pay that for you. They would deal with that for you from that point of view.
Always use solicitors.
Yeah, it's the easy way to pay the stamp duty. Just give it to the solicitor and they work it out.
Exactly. Because I guess if you try and do it yourself, yes, you might save a little bit of the solicitor's cost and time, but it's nominal. It's really not worth it. You've got to be spending, like you guys, you spend more time working on your business and growing it rather than worrying about the extra sort of 10, 20, 30 pounds of getting someone to go and do the paperwork that's behind the scenes to make it happen. Because that's always been the process that most solicitors will just do it for you. So yeah, it makes absolute sense. So yeah, so forget the fact that you think you're going to get all your stamp duty free. There will be something to pay, I think is what we're trying to say, aren't we?